Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the February 22nd meeting of the Sykesville Marion Town Council. Let's open this meeting with, well, let me tell you a couple of meeting things first. It's taking place via Zoom teleconference. In order to give public comment or listen, you can call 1-301-715-8592. The meeting ID is 893-7792-2541, and then the password is 747866. Once you enter, you will be placed on mute. So just keep that in mind, and then we'll get to the next things after we call it to order. So we're going to do a Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a brief moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. A brief moment of silence. Okay. All right. And then our first item, so public comments, as I mentioned, are limited to 3 minutes per person. So please alert staff that you'd like to make a public comment by pressing *9, and that will raise your hand and alert us for that. So we'll give everybody a second to do that. See if there's any public comments at this time. Anything, Carrie?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. So our first item on the agenda this evening is the consent agenda. And this consists of the minutes from February 8th, 2021, as well as the short-term reappointment of Richard Barry to the BZA until a replacement can be found. Any questions on the consent agenda?
Actually, just nothing. It's not content, and I don't know if we have to pull it off because I just found it. It's just a quick typo on the minutes. There's no space in between nomination form that was created under Part 5, new business. But content-wise, it's fine from my perspective.
Okay, great. So we can just make the one typo correction. I think we're fine with that.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed and any abstentions? Okay, the consent agenda is approved with the one minor correction. Okay, so our first item is new business, and this is to consider, discuss, and act on the appointment of the Board of Election Supervisors. I think I saw a couple of them on the screen this evening. Trevor Evans, Afton Johnson, and Bob Betts, and Board of Election Supervisor alternate, Mary Ann Sickler. So I think, as you're seeing here, Trevor's been on before. So we want to thank them all for being willing to serve. And then I don't know if you had any additional comments, Joe. There will be a pay raise, or pay rate rather, I'm sorry, of $11.75 an hour. So any questions on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve appointments of Trevor Evans, Afton Johnson, and Bob Betts to the members of the Board of Elections of Supervisors, and Marion Stickler as an alternative to the board.
Second.
Just a quick discussion. This is my first time going through this process, Mayor. Do folks normally introduce themselves or no? I don't know what the normal process is.
Not typically, not normal, but if they're on the screen and they want to introduce themselves, that's fine. I don't, hey, what the.
It doesn't matter to me. I was just wondering what the normal protocol was.
But we can certainly say welcome. Thank you for being willing to serve. We very much appreciate it. And it's an important job. And then I think we do try to give you some food too. If you're hanging around, I think we usually get some food for you. So thank you so much for doing that. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And if you want to just say hi or something or have any comments, it's fine. If not,
My name is Afton. I'm a lifelong resident of Sykesville. I worked the presidential election back in November, so I'm a little familiar with the length of time that it requires, but I'm sure there'll be another meeting where I'll find out more what all in this involves, but I look forward to meeting all of you. I do know Miss Marianne, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Very much appreciate it. It's good to have your experience and wisdom.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'll be helpful. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, did you see the oath of office for them that I had sent you?
Yes,
email?
I thought I got that, and I was looking everywhere for that. So hold on a sec. So we may have to do a quick swearing in.
Mhm.
I looked for that email. I thought you saw something and sent the word in, and when I went back to look for it, it was like it wasn't there. So hold on one second. Let me see if I got it. Could have been
Gotcha.
because my internet was acting up.
Do we need to vote on it first, or?
Yeah, I was
You
gonna
already-
let Ian dig that up. That we have the motion on the table. We can.
Yes, we'll vote on it before we do that. Let me make sure. Let me see if I can find that email.
Let me append the motion for a pay rate of $11.75 an hour.
Good deal. I'll second the appended motion.
Okay,
We have- We haven't voted on the increase in pay yet, so I don't know if we can include that.
That's a good point, Anna. Well, that's another part of our new business agenda. So we probably.
okay, so yeah, we do have to swear these folks in. So
Yeah.
let's go ahead and approve the motion to, and then the 1175 was part of that motion at the pay rates. So I think it's all part of the first motion. So let's go. We got a motion on the floor. We got a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so that motion is approved. Now, what were you saying, Anna? I'm sorry about the salary. Was that I believe that was part of that motion for the 1175, but did you have some other?
No, I thought it was two separate motions, but if it's all included with one, we're fine.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, so then we do have to swear them in. So are we going to swear them in individually, Carrie?
In the past, you've done it all at once.
Okay,
I would just have Marianne say alternate somewhere in her swearing in.
okay. All right.
Or make sure you note that in the oath somewhere for Marianne.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna start this off now. So it'll say, so all of you guys, you can unmute yourself, I guess, if you want, and then I'll try to read this sentence by sentence so you can repeat it all together. This should be fun. So it'll be I and then your name. Do swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution. So I don't want to get too far ahead. So if you want to go ahead and start there.
I,
Bob
Afton
Bennett,
Johnson,
do
do
swear that I'll support the
swear
Constitution. Affirm that I will support the Constitution
Constitution
Okay. Of the United States,
of the United States.
of the United States,
and that I will bear faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland
That I
and
will
I
bear
will
faithful
bear
and true
allegiance
to the
to
state
the
of
state
Maryland. Maryland,
of Maryland,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof.
and
and
support
support
the
the
Constitution
Constitution
and laws
and
thereof,
laws thereof.
And that I will, to the best of my skill and judgment,
And that I will, to the best of my skill and
judgment,
judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
diligently and
and
faithfully,
faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
without
partiality or prejudice,
execute the office of Board of Elections Supervisor
execute the office of Board of Elections Supervisor
according to the Constitution and laws of the state.
according to the Constitution and laws of the
laws
state.
and laws of the state.
There you go. Now it's official. Congratulations. And then we'll have you sign those as you get to the pre-brief meeting, I guess. So
Okay.
thank you again. We very much appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think that's all on that topic. Yeah, and you were right. It was in that first motion, but I think so. You were right, Anna. It was on a separate motion for the pay, right? So that's the next item. Do we need to do we should probably set the pay rate, correct, Joe? And just do that as a separate.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was included in that first motion, so I think you're good. Even though it's listed as 2 agenda items, you basically combined them into that one motion.
Okay. All right. So that's how you got that in. Okay. All right. And then our next item is to consider and discuss an act on appointing our town clerk, Carrie Cheney, as an assistant election secretary. And then,
And again, the only reason we're doing this is because in our charter, the town manager is actually the one that's supposed to be administering the elections. However, the town clerk has traditionally always taken those duties. So I'm happy to fully recommend Carrie as the assistant election secretary, so she continue her duties as running these elections for us.
I have one provision for this, is that she gets fed along with the election supervisor.
I should say so.
We had an election, I guess it was the last one or the one before that, where she's still picking up and delivering the food, and there was none for her. So that's unacceptable.
yes.
Agreed.
Don't worry.
Hey, Ian promised everybody would get fed. I don't know if that meant he was making dinner for you, Carrie, or not, but we'll make sure you get something.
Yeah. I got to stay away, I think. I'm
Home
not
cooking for everybody. Yeah, all right.
can't get too close to the election site, but maybe we can send food in, we'll send a courier. But yeah, we'll make sure she gets fed. Thanks for pointing that out, Carrie. Can't believe you picked up the food last time and didn't get enough for yourself. It's terrible. But anyway, we'll make sure you get fed. So we need to make a motion for that. Would somebody make that motion, and then we'll second
Do it. I make a motion that we appoint Carrie Cheney, town clerk, as the assistant election secretary for the 2021 election.
Second.
Aye.
Couple of seconds. Pick one, Carrie. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, it's official, Carrie. Thank you for being willing to do that, and we appreciate that as well. All right, and then our next item is the introduction of ordinance number 2021-02, and this is in reference to the Recreation and Parks Committee. As you all know, Spark, it's been a town-funded sort of organization, but it hasn't really been an official town, what's the right word?
Established commission.
Thank you.
Set by ordinance. Yeah.
Commission, right. So this ordinance does that. It officially establishes the Sykesville Parks and Rec Committee as an official town commission. So just made sense, since we do fund it and stuff, and to be treated like we do the other commissions. So we're making it official. So any questions on this topic or item? Okay. And then if there are no questions, can we get a motion to introduce this ordinance?
Sure, I can do that. As the liaison to Sykesville Parks and Recreation Committee, I'll be glad to make a motion to introduce ordinance number 2021-02 as an ordinance to amend, adopt, and enact sections of the Town Code of Sykesville to adopt and enact a new Chapter 113, Parks and Recreation Commission.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. And then, so that we have the ordinance here. So we've introduced it now, Joe. Does this mean that, do we need to wait on this to vote on, to approve this, or?
Yeah, just like any other ordinance. So you will introduce it tonight, and then at our next meeting, it'll actually be adopted by the council.
Gotcha. Perfect. Okay.
So basically, if and when this gets adopted, the C in Spark will stand for commission instead of committee.
Correct. That's correct.
There you go.
I was very careful to make sure that we got the wording right. So
Thank
that
you,
Spark
sir.
would still be Spark. Yeah.
Good deal.
Right. Because we don't want to, we got Sparky, the squirrel. We don't want to mess up the namesake. All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Anna. Did you have a comment?
I just wanted to add, but it's not necessary. I was going to say, when I was liaison, I know that they had, or the town staff was putting in place to have this as a commission. And I guess with the changeover of the town manager, it just kind of fell through.
Yeah. So, yeah. And so some of that stuff, I think Joe's been working through and getting it back onto the agenda. So.
Right. And I'd like to actually thank Anna for being a precipitous to this as well during her tenure as the liaison to the committee at the time, because that's how long this has been in lying in wait. So thank you, Joe, for picking that up.
Yep. Okay, our next item is the announcement and the reports. Our next mayor and town council meeting will be on Monday, March 8th. This too will be a Zoom meeting. We do have volunteer opportunities still available on the Historic District Commission, the newly formed Commission of Spark, Police Auxiliary, and a crossing guard for such time as so good time to get in and get some training. You can email town@sykesville.net for more information about volunteering for any of these. The town is also accepting nominations for council and mayor. As you just heard, we got the election judges in place, and now the election will be coming up. So you can get the forms on the town website at townofsykesville.org. Nominations will be also taken during the council meeting on March 22nd, however, 2021. However, we are strongly encouraging you to use the written form to eliminate any confusion and to help streamline it for us. But we will also take them on March 22nd at the meeting too. So that brings us to staff updates. I didn't know if you had anything, Joe, or before we get into the treasurer's report.
Yeah, just a few quick items just to remind everybody that work on the comprehensive plan is still ongoing. We had our last advisory committee meeting this past Thursday, and we will be presenting the document to the public at the planning commission meeting on March 1st. So really it kind of kicks off the 60-day public input time period that's required by state code that we go through and accept all the comments on all the different sections of the comprehensive plan. So after March 1st, the document will be public, and we'll certainly push that out and try to get as much input on those the recommendations that are in the comprehensive plan at that time. And of course, that's also the time where council can start getting up to speed on everything that's included in there. And of course, if there's any questions or comments, or if you all would like a work session specifically just to go through that document, we can certainly arrange that as well. And then really just a public announcement, I guess, if you want to call it that. But we had a couple questions about some of the markings that people had been seeing on Main Street downtown. We did want to just make it public that the Carroll County Utilities is working on a water and wastewater line replacement program right now. They're just doing some engineering at this point. So if you see some markings out there, you see some folks walking around marking some of the lines, that's what's going on. So hopefully there's now getting started on that. So it's in the engineering phase right now. They expect to have a project ready sometime in the fall, but as they get closer to that time period, they'll make sure that we're aware of when that's going to happen. And then lastly, just to continue to heap praise on the Public Works Department. I know Derek's not on the call tonight, but hopefully some of the guys are watching. Public Works continues to do a great job of our snow cleanup and removal efforts. This winter's been brutal, and they keep rising to the challenge. So again, just thanks to the Public Works Department for all their effort so far this year. It's been great. And that is all I have, Mayor, unless anybody has any questions.
Anybody got any questions for Joe? Okay. All right. Yeah, thanks, Joe. And yeah, I think we're all in agreement with the Public Works staff. Who's done a great job this year, and especially with the picking up trash on the same day they cleaned snow. The last time was incredible. And then keeping on this one, it's just been ice and craziness. So yeah, can't say thanks enough for great job.
That was recycling. That wasn't trash, but it still was incredible.
Sorry, thanks. Yeah, recycling, but still, I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is crazy. So I thought it was this is just amazing. I couldn't believe it was gone. When in the morning, I'm like, and they did get it all. It's unbelievable. But yeah, thanks for pointing that out. It was recycling. All right, and then treasurer's report.
My turn.
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's well. Just to add to Joe's comment about public works, I've been making it in during all these terrible days, including Thursday, in order to get this treasurer's report out. So what I thought was this great advantage to live as a resident in the town of Sykesville and be a mile away from work. Now the public works is doing such a good job. I have no excuse not to get to work. So I pretty much have to get here, and I'm into town all the time. So just to let you know that I can attest as well to their excellent road clearing skills that's been implemented this year, to my detriment. But nah, seriously, they've been doing a good job, and I'd like to add to that as well. So at this time, I don't know if everyone's had a chance to review January's Treasury report. December, I think, as you recall, we were pretty much around bottom line, only about 27 in the good, above budget. But now we got the good real estate tax revenue payment of about 450,000. That really upped our revenue greatly, which now we're about 385 above budget at the moment, which is really good shape for this time of year. Happy about that. And as well, also, I'd like to mention that the annual budget has been adjusted to the additional appropriations that we discussed with the last ordinance 2021-01 has been implemented, and that's reflected in this report as well. In terms of the revenues, they're still tracking based on our projections, which is a good sign. I think the only small issue, if you look down, highway user revenue, that may change. I don't know. We're a little skeptical of whether we'll get that full amount in or not. So we'll see what happens as time goes on. We'll know more, I guess, towards the end of the fiscal year. So just keep an eye on that piece. The income tax state, usually we don't get the large amounts till later in the fiscal year, March, and then especially June, we'll get definitely a big pop. So in terms of expenses, again, they're tracking very well. Nothing really out of a line. In fact, you're probably looking, if you looked at streets and roads with the snow removal, you're probably thinking, well, gee, that looks too low to be true. And I think it is. We haven't received, I guess, all the bills yet for some of the supplies. Joe was telling me that there's some invoices on the way that I haven't seen yet. That's going to obviously pick that up a little bit. But
we have not touched the snow removal budget for the budget revision this year.
Leaving
all the money in that one.
But I think it's going to quickly be erased. We were in the good right now, but that's through January. I think this month, I think you're going to see a change. In terms of the check register, wasn't really anything outrageous there. I don't know if anyone picked up. The town spent some money on actually the council chamber doing some upgrades there. So if you saw a $16,000 pop from G&G Technologies, that's what that was related to. But then on the plus side, it's funded by the Corona relief funding that we've gotten from that. And then one side note, I think this was mentioned when we had the audit review, that one of the items that was picked up was not having a good control on some of the journal entries that I make. But we have put in a process, Joe and I have put in a process of coming up with a specific form that he needs to approve and sign off on. So we're kind of covering our bases there now. So that's all good. And I think the auditors will be happy with that on the next go around. Other than that,
I hate to ask you to repeat. I'm pretty sure you probably commented on the shortfall there with the highway user revenue. My screen froze temporarily. I don't know what's going on with my signal tonight, but for the sake of me knowing now instead of everyone else knowing and me having to ask you separately, would you mind?
No, it's okay. Now I just made a comment that that could be an issue of whether we'll meet the budget projection on that particular line item. I think that may not come in the way we think it will.
Right.
And we won't know really towards the end of the fiscal year how that materializes or not. So fingers crossed, but trying to be realistic about everything that's going on.
I wasn't sure if there was something more, that I missed something more specific. Thank you.
No problem. Fair enough.
And the reason for that, Craig, is because of a downturn in amount of fuel people are using and how much people are driving on the roads. Is that the reason for that?
Right. They're not traveling as much. And
right.
Correct. Yeah, there's a lot of travel. It's all based on, motor fuel usage. And then cost of gas has been down a little bit too. So the tax and all is on that. So yeah, so I'm definitely expecting an impact to that probably. And I think Craig's right on about it being hopefully not awful, but somewhat significant is probably the way to say it.
Right. So if no one else has any questions, I'd like to present the Treasury report at this time to the council and the mayor.
I'll make a motion to approve the Treasury report, January 2021.
Before we go, is there any questions for Craig? Anybody got any questions for? Okay. And then we do have a motion. So is there a second? Okay. And then I think Anna seconded it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All righty. So the budget report is approved for January. And then thanks, Craig. And Craig has been a stalwart even through COVID-19, man. He's been here a lot. So just want to thank you, Craig, for your commitment to coming in and working. And so, and I'm sorry we cleared the road so well to make it possible, but
okay.
Been working hard, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think it's less than a mile though, Craig, from your house to the townhouse. I think you're exaggerating a little bit there.
I know I could walk it in 15, at least towards the townhouse. I could walk it in 15 minutes. I don't know about going back up the hill. It maybe take me 20 to get home. So
there you go. It's uphill both ways. All right. And then Chief, Public Safety Report.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My apologies for running a little late tonight. I was a couple minutes late jumping on here, but hopefully I didn't miss too much. I too would like to add my compliments to Derek and his crew on doing a great job with the snow removal. But I would also add not to forget our police officers who are out there clearing the snow emergency routes and dealing with all the accidents and the disabled vehicles. I think they've done a great job as well. And I think as a team, we've all done a phenomenal job. So hats off to everyone involved.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I second that, man. It's been some icy nights. I've been real worried about you guys. So thank you guys. When the whole town was a sheet of ice that one night, I was really worried. So yes, we don't want to forget you guys and appreciate everything you guys are doing.
We've had some close calls, but knock on wood, no damage to any cars or nobody's gotten hurt yet. So I consider it a success so far. So the guys know when there's weather like this to remain stationary and not be out there being proactive. It's just too risky to either hurt themselves or wreck their vehicles. We respond to emergency calls, but try to limit the mileage out on the town roads. So let's talk about the public safety report. It's a very short one covering the period February 3rd to 15th, about 12 days. Not a whole lot to highlight here other than the patrol checks, 213. Very, very few traffic enforcement initiatives, 17. Again, a lot of that's largely due to the weather. Total of 301 events. And we handled, I think, only 6 incident reports during that period. So been a little bit of a slowdown just because of the weather. And of course, because of the shortened reporting period. Any questions about any of this report or any of the incident reports? I'd be more than happy to answer them. No? Okay. I would like to point out that we're doing well with recruitment for our one vacancy. I've actually extended a conditional offer to one person. We're working on doing his background and completing the necessary steps now. So hopefully with the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll be in a better position to know whether we're going to move forward with this person. But I feel pretty confident that we have an experienced police officer that's retired from another department that will be a tremendous asset to our department. So when the time comes, we'll certainly lay that all out for you so that you'll know and hopefully have a chance to get to meet the person once he's hired. So keep your fingers crossed for me.
Here, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Chief. Any other questions for Chief?
Nope.
Okay. And
I want to
then,
mention one other thing, Mayor, real
Sure.
briefly, is you may recall last year we had the burglary at the Smoking Shack, the convenience store on Village Road. We actually made a really good break in that case here recently. You may recall I mentioned there was a couple suspects in Howard County that were arrested in possession of some of those stolen lottery tickets. Well, thanks to the work of our officers and our crime lab, we were actually able to match blood, a sample of blood that was left inside the store to one of the suspects through a positive DNA match. So we're very excited about that. And we're looking forward to being able to close that case with an arrest of at least 2 individuals. So great work by initially Officer Brandenburg, who, as you know, has moved on. But Officer Betcher, has picked that case up, and we're going to see it through to hopefully a very successful conclusion. So great work by all parties involved.
that is a great job. Yeah, thanks a lot. And thank those officers too. I really appreciate that.
Certainly will.
And then yeah, go ahead, Stacy.
No, it was fodder. I was just going to say that the foot patrol checks should be listed as ski shoe patrol checks this past week. Yeah.
Even our most diehard officers are not out there putting as many mileage on their boots during this weather, but
I believe it.
Spring's right around the corner, and they'll pick it up.
And I wanted to just recognize the chief too. He wrote a really comprehensive letter to our legislators. As you all know, police reform is a hot issue right now in Annapolis, and we talked about it a little bit last meeting. And I talked with the chief. A lot of our legislators don't really have all the information from the small town police force position. And so Chief, he wrote a really comprehensive letter about yeah. And I mean, it was really good. And I think it helped. A lot of our legislators thanked me for sending that. And I think it helps them as they're looking at these important bills in Annapolis to, understand sort of what really is going on at the small town level and things to consider. So I think it helped a lot. So I wanted to say thank you. And I did send that to MML as well, just so, they can, have it for their discussions as well with the legislature. So I think it was helpful. So just want to recognize and say thank you to that. I think they really appreciated it. So.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah. And you do a great job. I mean, we've got a great small town department, so I think we're all really proud of it, Chief. And thank you for, running a really professional operation in a small town, because it really does make a difference, man. So
I remind the officers every day about how lucky they are to work in a nice small town like we have here. And you don't have to look far to see what it's like in other larger towns and cities. And so we're very fortunate.
Yeah, sure are, man. So thank you so much for being a part of that.
You're welcome.
All right. So that brings us to our council committee reports. And we'll start with you, Al. You're at the top of the screen tonight.
Okay. I have not met with the business liaison. We're meeting this Friday, the 26th, for the February meeting. And the Shiver Shuffle 5K is going on Sunday, the 28th at 1 o'clock.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. And then Leo, you're next.
Nothing new to report for the downtown Sykesville connection since the last meeting. We have waived board meetings for February and March and replaced it with a virtual retreat that we're doing on Saturday, March 13th. So nothing new to report since the last meeting.
Okay. And then Stacy, Spark.
Thank you. Spark has not met since our last town council meeting. We do have one scheduled, Spark meeting scheduled, virtual one via Zoom for this Thursday at 6 p.m. And I will give an update in 2 weeks.
Ready. Okay, and then Anna.
We're supposed to have a meeting tomorrow because it's the 4th Tuesday of the month, but there's no application, so HDC is not meeting tomorrow. And Joe, is it public knowledge about the easement?
It is. It
Can
was
I
the,
make?
sure, for the Marion Historic Trust.
Yes. So it's come to our attention that this past week, the Maryland Historical Trust has removed the easement on Warfield property. So what that means is that they no longer have any say over the development over there, whereas Sykesville Historic District will have full range and oversee of that property, and any type of development will need to come to the Sykesville Historic District for approval. And Joe has made mention that he will adjust the budget, that we will have a consultant that will help us in events that we need some type of input for any type of development over there that we're not 100%.
Okay.
Thank you, Anna.
Yep. And we're all going to monitor that. Obviously, me and Joe participated in the conversations about that. We didn't have a whole lot of say in this. I think it was an effort really to kind of, they didn't want to have legislative action, if you ask me. So they took this step. So it just puts a little more onus on the town and our local historic district commission to be mindful. And if they do get any sort of grants and like federal grants, it may open back up MHT's role. So there's certain situations that would bring MHT back into the picture.
When is the next time we're going to get an update at a public meeting like this in reference to Warfield?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think the last thing we were waiting on was they were working on an update to their fiscal impact and economic studies for Warfield. And those, I know they've received them and they've been under review. However, a lot of their attention has been focused on with the legislature and, you know, getting this easement removed through MHT, and then also expanding the historical tax credit program. So I know a lot of their focus has been in Annapolis these last month or two. But as soon as we have that information back from them, we'll certainly have schedule some time in front of council where they can provide an update.
And is this a foreshadowing of additional agencies wanting to get out of the Warfield project? Do we have any sense of that?
I don't think there are any other agencies, at least on the state level, that have any kind of say or push. Now, obviously, there's grant programs that may come into play if funding becomes available. But right now, it's pretty much the entire focus is now on Sykesville and being able to control and approve what happens on site.
And just so you know, too, Jeremiah, we've been asking for a plan, a revised plan, right? If the current PEC is not buildable, every meeting we have with them or every discussion we have with them, we've been asking them for a revised plan. So they're aware of our desire to have that at every meeting. And I really think that's the next key step, because all these studies and all really are going to fall on deaf ears without a revised plan. I mean, you know, they're going to keep telling you about all these numbers and studies that really don't matter if you don't know what they're trying to build there. But that's kind of what's going on, but we'll see what happens.
I appreciate that. We had talked a little while ago in reference to getting more routine, regular updates in reference to the meetings that are ongoing. And, you know, my thought on that, my personal thought on that is that that should happen monthly right now until we get this plan, just to find out what is happening between either yourself, Ian, or Joe in reference to communication, so that we can stay attuned to what's going on through this process, especially as we're getting close to an election cycle. And it's just, you know, I just think it's important that we're over communicating a little bit right now as we get into these subject matters. So Anna, thank you for bringing up the issue with the Maryland Historic Trust. Thank you.
Right. And I think, and just so you know, you guys pretty much have been getting all the communication we've had. There hasn't been much. this is really the only topic that's come up recently. And then there's one study piece, but agreed. We'll get Joe to put together a summary sheet for everybody and send that out just to give you all the current, but we don't have much, but we'll put that together just so you know what's going on. And then we'll keep everybody abreast of any activities through, especially through, as Jeremiah mentioned, through the election cycle, just so everybody's on the same page. So, all right. And then that brings you, Jeremiah, you're next on my screen. So while you're.
So no meetings with Raincliffe occurred. I was unable to go to the Carroll County Board of Education meeting. We did have a legislative committee meeting, and the one thing of note that I'll bring up is that there is continued discussion going on in reference to highway user revenues. It won't have any impact on this year's highway user revenues. What this is it's really two provisions that we're seeking through legislative action. One of them is a sunset on the 2024. That's when essentially the funding would go back to an older model where the municipalities are getting a much reduced rate than what we're getting now. We're getting now about 85% of that total budget provision. And so we're looking for a sunset. That's the first provision. The second provision is to increase the funding back to 100%, which is what it was some years ago. It's looking a little bit more favorable for the sunset than it is for the increase in funding. And so I just want to make folks aware of that. That doesn't mean hope is all lost, but it could be an incremental process in order to get everything that we want over the course of maybe a couple different legislative sessions. But as of right now, according to the folks that we've been hearing from in MML, it does look pretty positive for the first piece of that legislation. This is where we were last year prior to COVID. And so this is kind of picking up on that progress that had already been made down in Annapolis. That's all I had, Mayor.
Great. No, thank you. That's good news. If we can make progress on the sunset, that's huge. So thanks for the update and participating on that committee. Really appreciate that. Okay, so Mark, that brings me to you, Mark, Planning Commission.
Well, the Planning Commission met prior to the last meeting, so I have no further update for this month. Looking forward to next month's update.
Okay. All right. And then, so for Gatehouse, Jack's working on an exhibit about George Leakins Jr. He's a World War II soldier from the Sykesville area. And for the colored schoolhouse, I think Pat's, well, I don't know how much she's getting ready, but she's starting to get ready for the garden. I don't know if she's been doing much with the ice out there yet, but she's going to start preparing to get things ready for the annual garden at the schoolhouse. So
I've been working on her compost for about 9 months now, so.
All right. Once the ground thaws, you can get some compost over there. So, all right. And so I think that was everything. Let me check my sheet, make sure I didn't miss anything. But I didn't miss anybody, right? We got everybody? Okay. All right. So that concludes our agenda this evening. If there's nothing else, anything else? All right. So
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you all. Thanks to the CMC for